Well, let's talk about something that you and I know could talk about forever.
Oh boy.
I'm talking about Conan, who recently went on his fabulous podcast, Keeping It 100. I know that Disco Inferno was a heat magnet, but I think he and JoJo and K-Dog do a great job. And I listen every chance I get. They have me on at least once or twice a year. I love chopping it up with them. I love yelling at Disco. I love just learning from Conan. But he was quick to talk about the AAA deal, and I was surprised with how open he was about it. And as I was listening to it over the last week, I was texting you little clips, and I was kind of surprised when we sat down that Dave Silva found it just as interesting as I did.
Oh,
Of course, shortly after the acquisition was announced, where WWE purchased AAA, it was revealed that Jeremy Borash was going to be heading up this department for WWE. He obviously has a long time relationship with both Conan, but also specifically Dorian. I mean, Dorian and Jeremy have been tight for years and years and years. I've had meals with both of them. Think the world of both guys. But there was a narrative out there that I guess some people believe that Jeremy Borash had heat with Conan or some such. That's not true. Conan says differently. Quote, he's a creative genius, no doubt about it. And there's nothing more fun, as you know, than wrestling against your friends or working with your friends, right? He's a good friend, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And Conan also stressed, now that AAA is under WWE's umbrella, that the production quality of its broadcasts will improve. Our problem in AAA isn't our talent, isn't our booking. It's that we didn't have any money. So, for example, they said in WWE, if you put all of your TVs together for 1 year, it's not as much as they spend on one TV in the United States. Our show will look a lot better, and we're going to be able to work with their talent, not just NXT talent. And now with money, you'll see what we can do. And at one point, Disco was even sort of freestyling. Hey, well, the main event of Triple Mania could be Dominic Mysterio defending the Mega Championship against El Grande Americano. He did that tongue in cheek, of course. And Conan says, we've kind of already talked about that. They'll both be involved, but I don't think that will be the match. And Conan would double down, saying that the reason Dorian sold the company was not that AAA was at the risk of going out of business, but that Dorian recognized they could not grow without outside help. Quote, bro, the reason they sold the company is not because we were going out of business. The reason they sold the company is because Dorian Roldan put his ego to the side, and he understood that we could never grow if we didn't have help and capital, and now we have it. But business is not bad. The last 2 years, all of our TVs have been from 85% to full, right? Our business is not bad. He would continue when he was asked if WWE's purchase might make AAA more accessible to English-speaking fans and audiences outside of Mexico, and Conan responded that was 1,000% correct. And he also confirmed that he will not be writing Disco into any AAA storylines. He says, let me tell you, for all the haters that were out there throwing shade at me this weekend, bro, what happened? You can't stop it. And what's going to happen? You can't stop that either. And the only thing we're going to give you is a much better finished product that benefits everybody and more work to a lot of people and more work to a lot of other Latinos that a lot of people complain and say, why aren't they being used correctly? Now they will. I love Conan's enthusiasm. I love Dorian. I know, we consider him a friend of the show, but I also know that there's another side of this. And now that WWE is firmly in business with AAA, or I guess owns it, now we know that, as we just mentioned a little while ago, Arena Mexico for AEW is completely sold out. So it seems like the battle lines are drawn. It was here in America, sort of WWE versus AEW. But now in Mexico, it certainly feels like it's WWE versus AEW. Now, I'm not suggesting that Tony Khan has bought CMLL. In fact, CMLL is making it very clear in their new marketing, Jeff. I think they're saying that they're basically 100% Mexican.
Yep.
They're trying to push that, hey, we haven't sold out to the gringos. We're still authentic lucha libre, blah, blah, blah. That is the only underdog way to sell this if you're CMLL, right, Jeff?
Oh, no doubt. Oh, man.
What do you make of all this that Conan has said?
Yeah, I don't even know where to start in that. Jesus, my 20-year relationship with the Mexican audience and the fan base and the understanding. And look, I'm still going to say I'm obviously from the United States, so I don't understand it and never will understand it culturally on the deepest of levels. But I do know that there is so much that we're going to learn over the next 36 months. There is so much, TBD, to be determined, how things are presented, how things are put together. But on the very core of what K-Dog's talking about is that, and look, this goes back years and years and years. And Conrad, me and you have had conversations in that, putting together a TV show on AAA, segment by segment, it was, continuity. And I'm not pointing fingers. Conan's knows the situation better than anybody, but the ins and the outs and the story and how things were done. And it just, the business model, it was definitely an uphill challenge. So things are going to be done, I'll say, the WWE way, the American way. Now, how culturally that resonates with the audience in Mexico, I think it's to be determined. You can see, just like you said, what CMLL's first strategy is. We're 100% Mexican. So yeah, that is where the differentiator is. And CMLL factually is the oldest ongoing wrestling promotion in the world. Their anniversary show, I don't even know what it's up to. 90, it's way up there. The stories that my dad would teach me about way, 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 way back when, and just how it's culturally ingrained and everything that goes with it. But it is going to be interesting that, like, man, Conrad, so much was said right there. I'm very curious to see the business of it. Like, where is AAA going to be seen in Mexico? What is their TV deal? What's the finances of the TV deal? What are the talent contracts? Because at its very core, and a lot of people are not even aware of it, AAA really ran, let's say 26, that's every other week, but we'll say around 26 or a few less TV tapings a year, every other week. And then they ran their 5 big shows, Summer Show and Triple Mania. And anyway, they had 5 10-pole events, and that's really what they did. Their talent Monday through Sunday would be booked out by third parties, and AAA was run truly as the old school of the booking office. So a talent like Psycho Clown could say, okay, I'm here this Monday for a third party, here this Tuesday, and they would just route them and travel all around. But they're technically working for another promoter, and the promoter is paying the talent and a booking service. So the infrastructure is AAA. That, more than anything, to me, I'm very fascinated on how does it work in the TKO system? How does it work? And I say that because, there's another party involved in here, Philippe, that, for the lack of a better word, that they are ingrained in this deal. And, I would imagine they help package all this up. So there is so much stuff that we just don't know. Nobody knows unless you're really, really on the inside. Like, what role, okay, is Jeremy moving to Mexico? To do the TVs, is who's running down to, at the end of the day, when you do a TV taping, whoever runs, and they've done little shots of Tony or Vince or Triple H, or, who's running go position, that's your executive producer. Who's the QB of the show? Like, how's that changing? And then when the content comes in and you got to create, a 1-hour episode and the pre-tapes and all the stuff, like the real execution on every level, we don't have a clue. We're sitting here all kind of talking in a lot of ways, I don't say in circles, but talking about so much of the unknown on really what the product's going to look like what's it going to look like. And then once you kind of land on, okay, this is what the product is, how is that fan base, how's it culturally going to resonate? Is it going to, I'll say, get over with the hardcore Lucha Libre fans? To be determined. Is it going to attract new fans? I think that's a huge initiative. How do they service them? You know, when you go to the biggest of the biggest, I'll say the Triple Manias, the Arena Mexicos, when you go to those shows, the street vendors outside, they're selling a boatload of merch. You can call it bootleg, but it's, you know, it's unlicensed. Like, how does TKO handle that situation? Conrad, there is so much unknown that nobody, unless you're again on the inside, really knows. And I think those that are on the inside are going to take this kind of on a block and tackle. So I'm excited again for the business. All this is continuing to evolve. You said it, AEW, partnering. We're going to Mexico, using that arena, selling out. The execution of that show, I think, can go a long way. Damn, Conrad, just the Lucha Libre aspect in the industry. And that's where, Conan has waved that flag for 30 years. Way back, just the evolution of Lucha Libre in the United States. Again, are they going to run some Lucha shows and tour a Lucha product? And I'm saying they, as in TKO, are they going to tour AAA in America? I don't know. TBD. But it's certainly going to be fascinating to watch. At the end of the day, it's great for the industry. Rising tide does lift all ships.
Is this the biggest wrestling story of the year?
It's so far this year.
Yeah.
I'd have to put it at least 2.
What's the biggest?
Rock selling out Toronto.
It wasn't a sellout, Jeff.
What?
No, it wasn't a sellout, Jeff.
Oh, but he did. He took it over the top, didn't he?
No.
No?
No.
You mean a friend of 25 years called up and he didn't deliver?
Well, they needed something to make it electric and to get people talking. And to be clear, I know we're being a little obtuse. The John Cena turn had untold impressions online.
Yeah.
And The Rock's involvement certainly turned the volume up and added.
Oh, huge.
So there was phenomenal value in The Rock being there.
Yeah. And we're joking on that.
But still, the clickbait is going to be, oh, Jeff Jarrett and Conrad say Rock didn't sell shit. Well, that's not true. I'm just saying they already had like 27,000 tickets sold. That's a pretty good day if you're any wrestling promotion.
But anyway,
I do think having Rock in the ring added impressions.
Oh, no, it's huge. I'm totally going off having fun and all that across the board. But the biggest news story of the year, we're sitting here in April. And the kind of the business part of what we're talking about. I think the AAA transaction, are there more transactions to come? I don't know. We may be looking at it, but it is certainly right now. You'd be better if you say, hey, what about this story? What about this story? What about this story? But when TKO acquires a 30-year plus wrestling promotion, it's headline news. Because it's a shift in how the industry's operated.
Jeff, most people listening to this have never been to Mexico and don't really consume Lucha Libre on a regular basis. So I'm going to ask it in plain country speak that you and I can understand. I've been told over and over again by people who are in the area, who live in Mexico, who understand it, who speak the language. They tell me that AAA is the bigger brand, but Arena Mexico is sort of what people know. Like the idea being, hey, if you wrestle in Arena Mexico, that is the equivalent of saying, oh, I play at Madison Square Garden. So even though AAA doesn't have access to Arena Mexico, they have the brand of AAA Lucha Libre, but Arena Mexico, to people who live in Mexico, that's considered the pinnacle because of the building, and CMLL has control of that. Is that close?
You, without question, yes. Here is something that I think some people, and I may not do a good job here, but Conrad, you can help me on this. But when you see different statistics that come out, Ken Griffey is still on the Seattle Mariners or whatever payroll. Bobby Bonilla, whatever, Bonilla got paid $1 million. You know, when you kind of look at how big Major League Baseball is America's favorite pastime, there's no doubt about it. It has a crazy, now I know it's changing, a crazy amount of money on it. The TV rights deals, and again, I know this, but NFL, oh my gosh, over the last 10 years, 15 years, they're on TV and this and that and this. I don't think it's the exact analogy, but culturally, CMLL has been ingrained for, I can Google it, but I want to say 85, 86, 87 years. And in Mexico City, which is the capital, 20 million people down there, it literally is not just on historic places, but it is protected by the government. Friday night wrestling has happened for generations and generations and generations. CMLL, like I said, has buildings in Puebla and Guadalajara that are, you know, one's on Tuesday, one's on Sunday. Anyway, but they have a staple of wrestling years and years. So in the culture, all due respect, there's no comparison. They're just they're not. And it's interesting to see how this is going to affect CMLL's future business, because I can see a scenario, because you have to really, and again, I'm an American, obviously, and I'm not from Mexico, but there is I think in a lot of ways why I was so successful through the years down there. I represented blonde-haired, blue-eye American businessman. That doesn't sit well. They're always the baby brother, or however analogy you want to compare Mexico to US. That cultural relationship has always been a hot button. So at the very core of this transaction, how is the Mexican public going to vote on an American company acquiring Lucha Libre? I think that is the question to be answered.